different room.
Yeah, I'm at my girlfriend's today.
Well, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Have you got a big, family do?
Well, if she does, yeah. She's got a big family, so we're going to go over there after, eat a lot of food, and mimic the Americans. I really don't know why Canadians do this. I was thinking about that after you asked me that question. I'm like, why do we do this? It has to be a harvest thing, or what do they call it? Solstice thing or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we do the turkey. It's all the same food as the Americans do.
Yeah, we don't have that over here. I remember we used to have harvest festivals when you're in school, and that mainly seemed to involve donating old canned goods to your local church.
Oh, okay.
But it didn't involve getting the family together at any point.
Well, anyway.
So yeah, I have my notes.
Excellent. I'm doing something different in that I have it up in front of me, so I can kind of scrub through it and remind myself of things that happened because I forgot to take notes this time.
You've got the actual episode in front of you.
Yeah, I do have it up on my computer here, so I can look at it. I can go to a different thing. And I did just watch it this morning though, so it is fresh in my mind, and I remember everything that happened. And I was wrong. I will say that I was completely wrong, and that they did not shift topics in the first 5 minutes. They stuck with the plane for most of the episode, which was good. Yes, it was interesting. It was a good episode, I thought.
Yeah, this is definitely the best season opener arc that we've had since the tsunami in season 3, which you're going to watch when the show is on some kind of break. They are having a hiatus after 8:05, I think. Okay. So I don't know whether that's how long that's going to be. But it's one of those random 1 week, 2 week breaks that they put in these things that isn't like a mid-season break.
It's just they can't. No, it's because they can't produce as many episodes as they used to make, right? And so they have to. It used to be every single week between a certain whenever back to school started till May, and they would take a couple weeks off for Christmas. But now there's way less episodes. Like what you said, 18 episodes, right? So it's not like it used to be 22 or 24.
Yeah. I always like to. I always think they're like they're running to catch up with themselves. So, they didn't start filming early enough. I always go, you should start filming 2 weeks earlier, and then we'd be fine. Yeah,
that's true. That also happens on these kind of shows because they are producing this from week to week, right? They are trying to get all this. They must not be able to do it though. I can't imagine a show like this being produced like that.
Well, they're currently filming season. Episode 7, I think. So they are, a couple of episodes ahead. But that's still only, considering all the editing and post-production stuff that it needs to go through, that's still not a lot of time.
Just a few weeks, really.
Yeah. Between getting the actual stuff shot on set in the can and then taking it off to all the post-production stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I opened the episode with a question. I know that we have done this in the past. You asked me questions. I have a question for the show. The first thing we see is that Athena is still doing CPR, and my question at the end was, why is there no one else doing? She needs to fly the plane.
Yeah, that was my question too. It was pretty clear that she's got to get back in that cockpit soon. Yeah, it was weird. And it was also, I found it they gave us this kind of false hope at the end of that episode when that pilot came to and was like, okay, I'm going to get ready to fly the plane now. And then he has a heart attack and he's out of commission again. So that was they raised our hopes for nothing there. And they do continue to do chest compressions on him. And is that real? Can they really keep doing chest compressions and keep someone alive like that? They were doing it for, I want to say 20 minutes at least, right?
Isn't the point of chest compressions to keep the blood circulating?
I guess, yeah.
And therefore, you're keeping oxygen going to the brain to a certain extent. I'm not a medical professional, but we do know in the last season 7, that Bobby Nash, the Cap himself, was not breathing for 14 minutes.
Oh wow! Okay.
And he went back to work in a couple of weeks. So I'm sure this is. I'm sure, like all of these shows, this is 100% medically accurate.
Well, I thought it was interesting. So they're still working, and I guess it raises the urgency of getting that plane down, right? Because they cannot help them until they get the plane down. and they need to get it down safely. I was I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I was actually quite impressed by how nice that landing went when they actually did do it. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I was actually quite impressed by how nice that landing went when they actually did do it. But the kid did a great job. I was really impressed with that kid.
The kid was amazing, but I was excited because I discovered what his name was, because I've just been calling him the kid the whole time. His name was Jem. Let's just put some power into his name. That was very good. He was very important. His name was Jem. But what I loved when they landed the plane was, I've written down, the freeway that they were landing on had a central barrier, and I was like, "Oh my god, where are they going to land it? Are they going to land it on like the northbound side or the southbound side? They're going to somehow straddle the middle." And they straddled that barrier perfectly. It could not have been done better. Like, there was an under the plane shot, and you saw the wheels just go either side of it, and I was like, amazing work there, Athena.
I was actually pretty impressed with them coming up with that. I thought, like, because they have to come up with a reason they can't land on the runway because they can't turn the plane now, right? It's broken. And that actually, the whole idea of having the wreckage kind of stuck in that gash and then coming loose every time they turn the plane, which would happen, that just made sense because it kind of gives it like these levels of urgency. And then, so that shifts, no, they can't move. So now they have to find a place like ahead of themselves. And I thought they're going to have to ditch in the ocean. That's where I assumed they were going to do it. She had a nice line about that though, eh?
Yes, where she was like, "Is there a body of water?" But what's funny is in season 1 we did have a plane crashing into the ocean.
Oh, okay.
And that's a really good episode in season 1. Worst Day Ever, I think it's called, or something. But that's a really, really good episode. So when she said that, I was like, "Oh, call back."
That's great. So then they determine, and get into the, didn't even occur to me. They're on the freeway, and she's talking to, by the way, I thought it was a little irresponsible of him to get that woman, that Asian woman, to risk her life to bring the phone to the cockpit just so he can talk to his wife before she dies. Like, that's the only reason why. I have to talk to her. We have to talk to each other just in case she doesn't live. Well, I mean, there are other people on this plane, like, come on. So that was like, he won't take no for an answer. Sorry.
He was on the line with the softest hearted 911, call center person in the world, which is Maddie. And if you don't know, Maddie is Buck's sister.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, because you've only seen season 1, which she wasn't in. So yeah, she is Buck's sister. So she is part of like the 118 fam anyway. So, for Bobby to be on her line being like, "I need to speak to my wife, my wife," it's really...
I guess so, right?
Very emotionally manipulative.
Yeah.
Going back to the beginning of the episode, I adored... This is the unseriousness of the show. The whole... I never would have known he was British. It's called acting, son. Between the 2 British actors in that fire truck. That was...
That's like British? Is Buck British?
Buck's British, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh. Yeah. Well,
nobody knows that until they see him doing like a Q&A or an interview or something, and then all of the comments on every TikTok you will see are going to be just full of people going, "Wait, Oliver Stark is British?"
And that's the whole thing is that a joke about that, right? About that actor being... Is he the only British actor on the cast, or are there others?
No, he's the only one.
Okay, yeah. So that's what that's about. That's hilarious. I wanted to ask you, because at one point that actor, the guy who plays the actor, says "blimey." How often do people actually say "blimey" over there?
Now, they're both from like London, down south, and I'm from up north. So okay. Blimey might be more of a southern thing, but it's very core Blimey Mary Poppins. And I don't think people really say "blimey" that much. But it's one of those things. I remember when Dominic Monaghan was doing Lost, and people would like write an insult. The American scriptwriters would write an insult for him to say, and he'd be like, "Yeah, we don't say that." And I don't know if because they're playing this guy up as like he's such he's such a London like wide boy. Like the accent is so strong. So I think they're just making it a bigger thing than it is, because I don't think blimey is regularly used.
But it's funny though, right? That's the point of it. It's hilarious. All right, so they go off. So then they come up. They figure out they're gonna use the freeway, so they gotta clear the freeway. And it makes sense, like that they can do it by themselves. They're firefighters. So just like block off the road and then block off the other side. And so then they have to, I guess, land it, right? What happens next? Sorry, I should be looking at my thing here.
Well, I did think the other thing that you were talking about, the lady bringing the phone up.
Oh, yeah.
My favourite thing was that she was standing in the doorway to the cockpit while Athena was still on the phone, kind of looking at the hole in the ceiling that the pilot had been sucked out of, And the Jem goes, "Please return to your seat, ma'am." I was like, he's such a new pilot.
He was great, yeah. That was awesome.
And we were cutting between the plane and Bobby and Buck and Brad. Bobby, Buck and Brad. What a lovely conglomerate that is. And then, like, the people just, like, waiting around at the airport. That was so funny.
That was kind of creepy, eh? Like, they showed a shot of, like, someone's expecting a big crash, and it's like they're just in there waiting. Because that's what they do. That's what they must do, right? It's just they're waiting to come in.
And it was so still and ominous. Mm-hmm. And then they flew over and Chimney was like, "I think she missed a stop."
That's great.
Chimney had so many great... I wrote down pretty much every line of Chimney's, because I know you really enjoy him, and you're always like, what was my favourite Chimney line?
I think it was like when he said, "I'll get right on that, Cap," and he asked him to clean the latrine at the end of the...
Yes.
episode. So that was fun. I'm just watching that scene now where the flies over. I think she missed her stop, he says. Yeah, that's right. That was so funny.
My personal favourite Chim line was right to the end. We're jumping around a lot in the episode here, but my favourite was at the end. I can't remember what Bobby was even asking about, but Chim said, "Oh, I could explain, but I think it would be more fun not to." That is such a Chim thing. Even though that man cannot keep a secret.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
He's really bad at keeping secrets. So for him to choose to just be like, "I'm just going to be smug about this," and the joke is more important to him at all times.
Mm-hmm. And so these guys are now, so they have to land this plane on the freeway. They're doing chest compressions on the co-pilot in the back, and then everybody else is like sitting there, I guess. I thought this whole sequence was awesome. Like, it was just really well done the way they landed this so well, like paced. And I was like, there's no doubt that they're gonna land it and be okay, right? You know that they're going to. At least Angela Bassett, at least the main character will be. But I was still like on the edge of my seat throughout the whole thing. And what was I gonna say about it? Now I can't remember. Oh yeah, of course it lands and it's perfectly, like, that whole ending where it comes up perfectly. And he's just standing there like, hero. So cheesy yet good. I liked it.
Yeah. And we also discovered that Jem always crashes when
that was hilarious. Yeah. He's like, "You know what to do, right? You've done this a million times." He's like, "I always crash at this part. Like, I don't do well at landings," which completely makes sense, right? So that was quite funny. Yeah. And he kind of lost it for a bit there. Jem was out of it, and so she had to take over, right? So they do it. Yeah.
But he came through. We all knew it. The minute in the second episode, the minute he wandered into the cockpit and started telling the pilot about all the things, we knew that he was going to save the day. So well done, that kid. Oh, and also when they were like coming in to land, and Angela Bassett and Athena was like talking to the passengers. She was like, "This is going to be bumpy, but we're going to be okay." And she turns to Jem and she goes, "Have you got anything else to add?" And he just turns the seatbelt sign on. I was like, kids got jokes.
Yep, that was great.
Yeah.
So then we got, we're watching the live news coverage. We're watching the plane come in. Oh yeah, so they land and they're getting everybody off, but she can't get off the plane because she's got to keep giving chest compressions to the co-pilot. It's like she's the last person off the plane, right? She's the hero, so she has to be the last person off. Yeah. So they have to come on there and help her. I like the moment where... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's just that then you were right. I know you thought that it was going to be like 5 minutes of plane landing and then the rest of the episode was going to be about getting Dennis to the book.
Right.
But we did at least have that at the end of the episode. So you were kind of right.
Well, it wasn't even what I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought he had to go testify. I forgot that he had actually had find the location of this book. And that was actually pretty satisfying, and explained why they were why they were such assholes, those guys, and why they were after him and that kind of stuff. Because that one guy was involved. He was one of the people in the book. So that totally made sense. But I was going to say that then they're getting them off, and there's lots of great little moments, I thought, as they're kind of doing this rescue. And I don't know if this is what the show is. Like, Buck's running out. He's got I line cab. He's like, that's fake hose, not real. Like, what are you doing? He's like, instinct. He's like, bringing out a hose because that's what you do, right? But no, that's not going to right? Little things like that. When they show, the girl shows, what's his name? The actor, her leg, and he faints. He's like, you're okay. He's like getting into character, and she shows him his leg, and he's like, thump. He just falls and just faints. He's hilarious. That was so good.
I thought it was so adorable that everyone was sliding down and Brad was getting to play hero, and Bobby was just like, good work, Brad. Well done, Brad. Like, he was being really supportive dad.
Yeah, he was doing a great job with that. That's hilarious. Oh, man. So they get everyone off. And they come on, Chimney, of course, and Hen come on to help with the compressions. They've got some robo compressions or something, he said, right? Where it's just, it does the compressions for you until they can get them. And of course, they saved his life. And that guy won't be back in work in 2 weeks. Right?
Absolutely. Hi, Iz. Just joined. Yeah, absolutely. That guy will be back to work in probably 4 days. They won't even give him any trauma counselling. He saw his co-pilot get sucked out through the airport, but the whole of the top of the airplane. But he's probably fine.
I'll be fine. I was just thinking, all of these people are going to need so much therapy after this. This is such a traumatizing event. And then, this is what these people do, as far as the main characters of the show, this is what they go through every week, right? This is the point of the show. Is they face this kind of trauma every day.
Even the therapy dog is going to need therapy. Because we did, for the first time, get a whimper from that dog. That dog has been through a lot. And for the first time, when the plane was all shaking around, for the first time we heard that dog make a noise. And I was like, we've cracked the dog. The dog is broken. This is a problem. And of course, it wasn't just, we had the plane landed. Well done. Hi, Ollie. Everything's going well. And then fire starts.
And I was, does that happen a lot where just things can just blow up randomly? Like, you think everything's okay, then all of a sudden, boom, there's an explosion, and then back into the emergency mode?
I don't know that happens a lot, but what I remember talking about how when they launched it as a Beanado 3-part opener, and Tim Minear, who is the showrunner, he's come out and said, we had to advertise it as a Beanado because you can't advertise plane crashes in September. So even people thought we were going to have a Beanado for 3 episodes, but we kind of couldn't tell you otherwise because it's very insensitive. But the season opener last year, we had the cruise ship, and it was, first of all, there was a hijacking. Then there was an explosion, and then there was a weather issue. And I said jokingly, I was like, hey, we've got a Beanado, and we know that there's a plane involved, before the season aired. And I said, so the Beanado, that's the weather. Do the bees hijack the plane? Which they kind of did. And then I was like, so what causes the explosion? And then we had an explosion. It's just the same opening.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Well, and I thought about the explosion thing happened, I think, in the first episode. There was, after the crash, after the bees escaped, everyone's kind of sitting around at the crash site, and then there was an explosion. Wasn't there something that exploded, like gas tanks or something? I don't know.
Yes, in the
bee truck, in that whole issue, it blew up. So, yeah, I don't know. It was, lots of rapid explosions. That
turned out to be a helpful explosion because then they were able to calm the bees with the smoke.
Right.
Plain, less helpful. But they put that fire out very swiftly.
Good thing they take firefighters.
And Buck, without any gear on, just walking into that airplane. There are so many other firefighters who have just arrived on the scene, and they're going to be in their turnouts, and yet Buck walks in there in just a t-shirt and his just his trousers and just like, you know, leave it to someone else, Buck.
Well, he's got to be in there. He's got to be at the front of everything, right? That's what he does.
Absolutely. It's his job. Oh, and then the fact that the book was at the airport and they had to go back to the airport.
That was funny.
And all I could think about was that guy in Speed, you know, who's on the bus, and he's like he's the tourist. And when they end up circling the runway at the airport, and he goes, "But I've already been here. Like, I've already seen this." And I know their plane overshot so they haven't been there. But yeah, the fact that they had to go back to the airport to find the book just had me howling.
It was very clever. Like, the whole idea of putting it in a car in airport parking, that was an interesting thing. I don't think I've seen that quite very often, actually. As far as like being a place to stash something, it's almost always like the locker of the bus station or something like that, right? So it was nice to be different with that. And
I like that Dennis wanted to take the car. That was cute.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, I thought they were going to. I totally thought they were going to take the car, but they didn't. And then that's when that's when the agent confronted them. The one that they distracted him. The other guy with some basically told them they were in an ambulance when they weren't, and they went to get the book. And then now, for a second there, I was watching that scene. It was weird. I thought it was really weird the way it was cut together or something, because it made me feel like something crazy, like something was going to happen, like all of a sudden Dennis was going to turn on them or something like that. Like, that's kind of the feeling I was getting from that.
Right.
And then we just found it under the wheel well. There's the book. And then they look at it and everything, and then the guy shows up. So I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, like Dennis was going to find something in the boot. Like,
he's lifting up stuff. He's looking, and they keep cutting to Bobby, who's looking at other parts. And I guess they're trying to like convey the frantic search of the car. But it just made me feel like they were building up to something that didn't happen. And then the guy showed up, and it was a little bit more anticlimactic. But they end up, killing him. No, he's not dead. He gets stabbed. He gets shanked. That was good.
Yes. Yeah. He finally.
Dennis gets to shank someone.
Got to shank someone. And he's not in prison anymore. But Dennis finally got his day.
Yeah.
He made a shiv, and he got to use it.
Saved Bobby. He dove in front of the bullet for Bobby. That was crazy. I was totally shocked at that. But then when he said why at the end, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, he owed her one. That's so nice. It
was the most clearly, like, the editing of that moment was so bad. Like, it was so, you saw him do this humongous jump, like, and it was so. I mean, it was kind of obvious that was going to happen because he killed Athena's previous fiance, so now he has to save her current husband, Yeah. But just the shot that came prior to the gun going off was such a big leap from him, and I was just like,
he was far away. He was really far away. I thought it would have been he would have just as good a chance of leaping for the gun as he would have just like jumping in front of the bullet, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he ends up taking the bullet, and then they shanking him. So Dennis saves the day. And I thought they had a nice moment in the hospital afterwards as well with her and Athena and Dennis.
Yes, you always get the sort of moralizing bit at the end, where it all does for the first time get a bit more serious, But it was very lovely, and that she got his family there, and that it was about her. She said, "I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for." For Emmett to know that I've let go of all that rage and whatever. But just another note about when they were back at the airport and he jumped in front of the bullet and they had to call for an RA, and they were like, and I was like, all those ambulances were just there.
They got to be close, right? There's got to be some that are still close.
Yeah. I think they said they were like 6 minutes away from the freeway at some point.
Someone had to turn back.
And then, of course, the show got completely unserious again and went back to the 118 firehouse and Gerard coming back to work.
Yeah, that's right. I'll get right on that, Cap. That was Jimmy's best line. It just basically, it was very well done, I thought, because he's back to himself. He's going down the line. He's yelling at them all. And then he comes up to Buck, and it was like just this moment of what the hell? Like, I genuinely didn't know what he was going to do. Like, you don't know, he's going to tear into this guy. What's going to go? And he just embraces him in this giant bear hug. Just, you've saved my life. And it just,
world's most awkward hug. And, and Buck was hugging him back, and he was just on there. And the face that Eddie made was absolutely fantastic. What is happening? But Buck is obviously feeling tremendous guilt because he just doesn't know what he was trying to do. And I don't think he really believes that he was trying to save Gerard. Like, there's a part of him that thinks he was genuinely trying to kill him. So I think, and like a couple of chats ago, I was saying, I just don't see why he would like hang out with Gerard after. But the other thing is, like, I can kind of see it now, because this season, Gerard has been treated like a joke. Like, they play that funny comedy army music in the background when he's like doing the lineup and stuff.
mm.
But when we first met him in season 2, it wasn't funny. Like, he was a dirtbag, and I was trying to rewatch Chimney Begins, and I couldn't, my internet was playing up and so I wasn't able to see it. Because I swear it was more serious. Like, he had real problems, And even when we saw him in season 7, and he said to one of the guys who used to work at the 118 and is now a helicopter pilot at another firehouse, and he said, "Oh, I've heard you've got your wings." And that guy came out later in life. And that was obviously a reference to that. So, and this season, they've really been playing up like that. We haven't seen him say anything racist, homophobic, outright yet. He's just sort of been a grumpy, like, sweep that up and clean that up and do this, and you're all terrible firefighters. We've not seen any get into the nitty gritty of what a terrible person he is. So I can see why
we're gonna see a different side of him, because he seems to hate everybody except for Buck now. And he said, "You feel those arms around you? It's me taking you under my wing." So he's gonna be taking Buck under his wing now. And what does that mean?
Yeah.
He's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna love Buck now. He's gonna be like treating him super well and overly nice, probably annoyingly so.
But is he gonna expect Buck? Because again, back in season 2, he had like his little disciples that, sort of were as mean as he was, like that just fell in line with him and said all the bad stuff, which is why I think this season he's being played as more of a joke, because I don't think there's anyone in that firehouse now who would go along with him if he said particularly like legally awful stuff. Like, he knows he'd be out on his arse, so he's being more subtle about it. So when he said taking Buck under his wing, I don't know if we're going to get, like, Buck making Gerard nice, or if we're going to get Gerard sort of thinking that he can sort of encourage Buck to be one of his old disciples. Because that's never going to happen.
But I think that's what he thinks he's going to do. I think that Gerard thinks that Buck is going to become his new protege, and he's going to try and make him into one of those guys, and Buck's not going to want to.
I saw a great TikTok. I'll have to send it to you. And it's terrible because I should remember the person who made it to give them credit. But it was so insane. Like, the Buck is, every time we see Buck and Gerard, he's going to nearly kill him. But it's always going to work out well for Gerard. Like, he's going to take him golfing, and he's going to run him over with the golf cart or something. And the golf cart, people are going to be like, "Oh no, there was a massive fault with the wiring, so it's not your fault. Here, have a free, like, really expensive bag of clubs." And then, like, later, he, like, point blank, like, shoots Gerard. And then when Gerard gets to hospital, they go, "Oh, but this is so lucky that this happened now, because it turns out you've got this terrible disease and we wouldn't have found out about it, but now we can cure you." And like, every time, and I was like, that would be so funny. That would be such a great way for this season to go.
That's awesome.
But Yeah. So I think, yeah, that was the worst hug of Buck's life.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are up to a point in the season where we genuinely don't know what's going to happen because we've not had any. I mean, we had the little trailer for coming up next week, but I don't watch those because I don't want to ruin it. But we don't know, like, from behind the scenes stuff, we haven't really seen or heard anything. So we are going in not knowing anything really about the rest of the season apart from the little synopsis that they drop.
Well, that's fine. I mean, this is now kind of defaults into like weekly network TV show mode, right? Where it should be like a self-contained story every week. They might like hint at some other, there'll be some other ongoing things, but they'll have like a self-contained thing where they have to go to an emergency and they'll do something crazy, I'm sure.
Yes. Well, I mean, I must admit, I did see the one for next week, and I think it's like, because is it No Place Like Home that the next episode is, and they've got like a football team, so whether there's some kind of homecoming thing and that, but one of the guys, like, his head turns, like his body's the wrong way round when they turn up, so that sounds like one hell of an injury, and that sounds like that'll be a fun emergency. But I think we also start to get more into the other characters, what they're going through, rather than just like the big overarching emergencies. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of like Bobby and Athena have to find a new house, and Hen and Karen are still trying to get their daughter back, and their foster daughter so that they can adopt her. And Eddie's still trying to get his son back from Texas. So I think we'll start getting more into the nitty gritty of their lives, their emotional woes.
Yeah, less bees, more personal problems.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see fewer bees. Although they might continue to make jokes throughout the series.
Well, they could, yeah, that would be funny. What I realized this week, my girlfriend was watching Firefly. Have you watched Firefly?
Yes, some of it, not all of it, but most of it, I think.
It's, Tim Minear was on that. That was like one of his first shows. So it was Joss Whedon was the showrunner, obviously, but Tim Minear was working with him, and it was like he was really doing most of it because Joss Whedon was like writing 3 shows at the time, so he was all over the place, and so that's where he started. But I could tell, like, just such good writing, like the dialogue is really good, right? That's one of the good showrunner. I was kind of surprised to find that connection. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had no idea he did that. Yeah, very snappy dialogue on Firefly. I've seen like most of the series, but I've seen the film, I've seen Serenity.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, what else has he done, this Tim Minear guy?
I have absolutely no idea.
It's weird, you don't follow showrunners like you do directors, although I don't know if anybody follows directors anymore anyway.
Yeah, well, film directors, definitely, because the thing is with film directors, it's sort of easier to be like a completionist because, even the most prolific directors, like, especially if you decide to become like a Terrence Malick completionist, you've only got about 5 films to see because he releases a film like every 10 years or something.
Oh my God, I just learned something about Tim Minear that I don't know if he's ever going to finish this though. Okay, you want to learn something about Tim Minear?
Yeah.
He was an assistant director on the film Platoon. He wrote several episodes of The X-Files and Lois and Clark. He worked on Angel. That's when he started working with Joss Whedon. Firefly, Wonder Falls. I've never heard that.
No.
And The Inside, which I've also never heard of.
Well, is that why we got a Platoon joke?
Oh, there was a Platoon joke. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you're right. That's probably why. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then, okay, here's what the thing that got me was that in 2004, Minear stated that he was hired to write a screenplay of The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, which is one of my favorite novels. It's a Robert A. Heinlein novel. It's a science fiction novel. And it's a great novel. I would love to see a movie made out of that. I don't know, but 2004, it's 20 years ago. Yeah. They've not made this movie yet, so maybe...
It's probably permanently delayed now. But also...
Yeah, so...
The main 911 guy is Ryan Murphy.
Oh, okay, yeah. It said here
He's
that
the creator.
Yeah. And
and of course,
story as well.
he does. He's done lots and lots of. He's done so much stuff, and I think Tim Minear is involved in Dr. Odyssey, which is Ryan Murphy's new show. I don't know whether Tim Minear had anything to do with the 911 spin-off, 911 Lone Star, but of course, Ryan Murphy is Glee, so everyone's like, this is another reason why people are like, we're going to get like a musical episode.
Well, that makes sense. I would be okay with that.
Yeah. If we get a musical episode, I'm going to watch the whole thing like this. Like, I don't want it.
Well, I mean, it's inevitable though, isn't it? Don't you think they're going to have to do one at some point?
Well, maybe when they get to like season 10, they can have a musical episode as a treat, but not before then.
And not because other shows are doing it and it's a trend that they're jumping onto, right? Because I think that's a bit of a trend right now, isn't it? Or was.
Yeah, but I don't even know if it's a trend right now. I think of it as a trend from like sort of 10, 15 years ago when Buffy did it and like Grey's Anatomy did it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if someone's done a musical episode for like a long time. But
Star Trek did one.
Who did?
Star Trek Discovery did one. Or no, it was Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds. I always mix those two up. But it's a newer one of the newer series they're running. But they did a musical episode. Yeah, it was okay.
Oh my, yeah. And I mean, 911's got a brilliant setup for doing it. It's knock on the head, boom, like musical episode. It's so easy to do, but I don't know. It just feels a bit cheap.
Well, and it's gimmicky, right? It's like you've seen it done a million times. Like, try something new, try something different. You don't have to do the same thing as everybody else. Interesting.
Yeah. No, don't do what everyone else does. For goodness sake, be original and have a B-nado. Because that's not silly at all. That's not nearly as silly as a musical episode would be.
So do you have any idea like how well the show does ratings-wise in the US? Is it like a really watched show?
It does. Rainbow Nerds in the comments has just said, any excuse to hear Tracy Thomas sing. Yes! If Tracy Thomas was the centre of the musical theatre episode as a musical theatre girly, that's fine. But it's getting all the other people. I'd have an issue with it. But I don't like, it does well. I think like over the sort of, the streaming and the, across platforms, like it's the first episode is getting up to like 10 million views. I think it gets like 5 million viewership when it's released, but that means nothing to me. I have no concept of whether that's any good. Like they go, we got 5 million viewers, 0.7 on the whatever scale, and I have no concept of what any of that means.
Yeah, they're talking about Nielsen ratings, and I know a little bit about that. I've worked in advertising, so I have some idea of how that works. So, and yeah, you're right. I'm looking at it right now. 5 million, around 5 million for the first 3 episodes. The third one was the most, almost 6 million for this last one that just aired. So it's working. They're building the audience, right? Which is what they're trying to do. But that's pretty good, I think, for this day and age where the audiences are so fractured. People don't really watch live TV much anymore. Like as far as these are, I assume, people watching live TV. That's pretty good, I think. I remember when the American Office finale aired, I remember looking at that number, and that was 8 million people watching it live.
Wow. That's
really low to me because we used to have like Seinfeld with like 60 million people, right? But that was a different time. There was like we all watched the same TV back then. It wasn't like we had all these channels to choose from. So 5 million is pretty good.
Yeah. I was going to say I would have expected The Office to be a lot more, but still that would have been in a period where there are way more options. And, recording options that we've got, so you don't have to watch. Even back in the day before we had like streaming, we had VHSs. We could record things off the telly.
Yeah, but they never kept track of that. Nobody kept track of that stuff in Nielsen or the ratings things, right?
It never counted towards ratings, but we had a way of doing it. But, you know, that was the earliest iteration of like watching things on delay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. What else do you want to talk about? What else we got?
I have absolutely no idea.
What do you expect to come next? So what are some of the other things that you think are going to happen this season?
Like I said, I have genuinely got no idea. I think the Hot Shots people are still there. Like, they're still filming in season 7. So I think we've still got Gerard for a good few episodes yet. Chris, Eddie's son, who is in Texas, is still a regular cast member. He's still in the main credits. So he's got to come back. I will be absolutely heartbroken if he doesn't come back. He's so great, Chris. But whether it'll be a mid-season finale sort of thing, I don't know. There are so many fans out there who have so many incredible theories about what's going to happen, and I just go do and just eat the show as it comes. Like, I don't know anything that's going on.
I think they are going to do. I like the Bobby being the consultant on the TV show thing. I think they're going to keep going with that for a while. I like the actor guy who plays him. I think that's hilarious. They have to keep coming back to that.
I'm slightly concerned about. Like, what? Why? And the thing I loved was when Brad went with Bobby and Buck. When Buck then did a Terminator and took that guy's motorcycle, Brad was like, you know, like, I was like, oh, he's found someone else to be obsessed with. Like, he could be a problem.
That's true. Yeah, he can come hanging out. He come hang out at the firehouse, right? Just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I thought they could do that like, whatever that boot camp thing he was talking about last episode. They could do that at their firehouse, right? They should get all the actors from the show there and show them how it really goes. I also thought it was nice, and just getting back to that point where they showed up and Bobby took over as the captain and started barking orders to everybody, and they're like, "What, Capsy, is he back? What's going on?" Like, that was a nice little moment as well.
Yeah, because he is still, even though because he retired at the end of season 7, and then he decided he didn't want to retire because he was going through some emotional stuff. And then after he'd been dead for 14 minutes and he came back to work 2 weeks later, he decided that he didn't want to be retired anymore. So he still works for the fire service. You know, he still gets to wear the little uniform.
Yeah.
There's a part in season 5, I think, where Eddie leaves the 118 to go and work at dispatch. But he's working at dispatch as a firefighter thing. Like, he's not a firefighter, he's like doing the Twitter updates.
Oh, okay.
You know, so he's just like sitting at a little desk in his little fire uniform, all sad. It's so sad. So Bobby still gets to walk around and wear his uniform and his badge and everything and be all proper. But I don't know if, like, that... I don't know how it works, like, legally and stuff, for him to come in and take ownership of an emergency and become incident commander, because he is not currently an active firefighter.
Yeah, I guess, eh? Like, not even as a ranking officer on scene or whatever, right? He would be the highest rank there, but...
He was the first captain to arrive, so he is the incident commander. That's how it works when you've got multiple, you know, houses all arriving at the same thing. Whoever gets there first, they become the IC. And so obviously it was quite right for Bobby to take over, but, you know, Hen and Shin being surprised, like, Bobby's the IC now? You know, he's just working on a TV show. I didn't know he was allowed to do this.
Probably not, actually. Yeah, you're right. That'd be funny if they, like, looked into that and he got in shit for that, right? They have to do launching an investigation because he shouldn't have taken over. Should have waited. These people should have been investigated so many times. I'm sure. I mean, no one's doing anything right. And then they're like, every now and again they do get, you know, a moment where they're investigated. And this is the whole reason why Hen has lost her foster daughter, is because, quite rightly, to my mind, somebody refused treatment. So she said,
That's fine. And then they died. But they had refused treatment. And as I understand it, and again, I'm not a lawyer, I don't live in America, I don't know how anything works. But if you refuse treatment, they can't treat you.
Yeah.
Because then they're opening themselves up to all sorts of liability. So she didn't treat him, and he died, and his mum is a councilwoman and got it all, she's got their foster license taken away and all that sort of stuff. Because she thinks that Hen, killed her son. But, so when they investigate it, it's the wrong things. And when they don't investigate it, I'm like, I don't think you should have. Oh, no, you should have done that.
That's awesome. All right, well.
So in the rest of the season, what we will definitely see is these people crossing the line a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically how the rest of the season will go, with lots of them doing their job in a way that makes you go, I don't think you should be doing that.
And you don't watch the promos. You won't watch the promos at all?
I will if if it comes upon my feed and stuff, but I actively stop watching the show when it says next week, I do the same thing with Bake Off. They always have a promo at the end of the episode. They go, next week on Bake Off, and I go, do you know what? I'll just find out next week. That's fine. I don't want to spend a week going.
Yeah. I think that those teases are built that's an old school thing to do, right? To tease the future content for people because they're trying to build that habit of, again, people come back and watch it live. But yeah, I don't think that really flies anymore.
I mean,
watching that way.
Yeah, if people are watching it live and then they're general audience members, not a big fan like I am.
Yeah.
I'm coming back anyway. And I'd rather go into it also knowing that they lie to us constantly.
True.
I kind of don't want to get an idea in my head of, if it's a fan theory, I don't mind it being wrong. But if they've actively lied to us in promotional materials, that annoys me.
Yeah, I agree. I hate that too. And that happens in movie trailers all the time. And I've actually stopped watching movie trailers. I don't seek them out when I hear about a trailer dropping or anything like that, like I used to. If I get one in my feed advertised to me and they manage to target me properly, I'm like, all right, fine, I'll watch it. And if it's good, I'll keep watching it. But yeah, I don't look up the promos or stuff for the shows that I like to watch. I just kind of like to watch them.
Yeah. I used to be obsessed with movie trailers. And I once went to an event in London, which was just before Comic-Con got really big and international. They decided to do this thing in London in the big cinema in Leicester Square, where they have the premieres and stuff. And they were like, yeah, we'll just show a load of trailers and then we'll interview people. So they had Guillermo del Toro there and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So that was great. And that was just when he'd been given the job of The Hobbit.
Okay.
And I remember him saying, they said, how do you feel about that? And he said, I wake up and I pee happy. It's just, and then he didn't get to do it. It was so sad.
Yeah.
But that was just trailers. That was just we just sat there for 4 hours and watched trailers. And these days I would never go to an event like that because I'd rather go into a film knowing as little as possible. Because even if there's a twist, even if someone says the twist is great, they're not giving away what the twist is. But I'm just watching the whole thing going, is this a lie? Is this a red herring?
They burned us, right? They burned us too many times with a lot of different things as far as misleading audiences into something being not what it is. And so we're just not buying it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't even want to know that there is a twist so that I can go in and enjoy what I'm being presented without second guessing. I second guess everything anyway. So I don't want to be third and fourth guessing. That's not a good use of my time.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I think I will continue to enjoy everybody's fan theories because I'm very much on 911 TikTok and I see everything. And I will enjoy those, but I won't watch an official one. Those people are liars.
That's fair. I agree.
Yeah. So I think you should now go and enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Yes, we're having our Canadian Thanksgiving dinner tonight. So we'll be thankful for all the Canadian things that we have, like turkey.
Yeah, what are you thankful for, Dan?
Oh, I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for this time and talking to you on this slide. This is a lot of fun. I've really been enjoying doing this. So thank you for doing this with me, and we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for this too. It's really fun because I watch some other shows with other people. Like I watch Lucifer and the Rookie with a group of friends of mine, and we just shout at each other on, about it all the time. And I've never had anyone to shout at about 911. So you're making my dreams come true here, Dan. Thanks very much.
Yeah, well, it's all thanks to you. You got me interested in this show. Like I would have even given it a chance if it weren't for you. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you've had a good opening 3 episodes. You could have started with the blimp, and then you'd have been like, I'm not watching this show anymore. That was a bad opening.
Oh, okay. I'll see it all eventually.
Yeah. But have a great Thanksgiving, and I will see you next week back at our normal time slot, I presume.
Yeah.
Marvellous.
Thank you.
Bye.